as well, but I am seeing already some issues, which we'll go into. But first, let's actually look at your site map. So you have 93 articles. Yeah. So yeah, so you do have quite a bit. Yeah, okay, let's have a look. So did you publish these articles before or after you took the course?
Before, most of them before.
Most of them before. Okay, that's fair. And now that you've gone through the course, in terms of things like optimizing and stuff like that, are there things that you are going to change?
Yeah, so what I was planning on doing is I was just getting content up to try and get the traffic up so that we weren't starting from zero, so to speak. And then I was going to go back in because we haven't joined a lot of affiliate programs yet.
Yeah.
Go back in and re-optimize blogs and add links later and all of that kind of stuff to start getting some traction. So some of them, I mean, most of them, initially they've been written with SEO in mind. Some of them are not above 70, but most of them would be above 70 at least, from a surfer perspective. So yeah, there's definitely room for improvement, and I feel like some of the blogs need to be more humanized than they have been, especially the early ones. So there's definitely work required, and maybe adding schema and stuff like that might help. I don't know.
Okay, hold on one second. I'm just actually. Oh my God, where did that screen go? Give me a moment. I'm actually just wanting to run a quick scrape on this, but my screaming frog doesn't want to open for some reason. Let's see. Anyway, I had to get a new MacBook because I spilled coffee on mine, which is so stupid. It's the most nomadic thing that's ever happened to me. And so some of my software I've not like set it up properly again, but okay, that's. Is that one didn't work? What's happening? Okay, maybe I can't do that, but I might do that not offline, but after this call or something, because I just actually want to do a scrape and see kind of what's going on there as well. But in saying that, one second, I'm just there, better and beyond. Just get this photo. Yeah, 1 second. Going on here as well. Okay, so okay, so nothing too much going on here that I can see. Designs, break air fryer. Let's have a look at.
It's silly, some of the things that have come up, like bread and it's like, all these beautiful egg decorating, and people are interested in baking bread in an air fryer.
Yeah, it definitely fire bread. Difficulty. I want to see what these competitors are. Let's have a look.
Initially, what we did as well was we started with keywords that were low difficulty score with reasonable volume. I thought that would be a reasonable strategy to try and get the traffic up quickly, but that doesn't seem to have really done much.
Yeah. Okay. So one real quick win that I think it's quite. I reckon that you should do immediately, and I reckon you're going to see quite a bit of high ROI in this, because from a content perspective, I'm obviously not reading it from a. I'm not reading it like like properly and analyzing it, but in terms of a structure perspective, it's looking good. Like, you've got the correct headers. Looking for the headers, it all makes sense. In terms of the lengths of the article, like, you've done your research. I don't know whether this article is too long or too short in comparison to what is ranking. Actually, let's just do one while we're here. Let's actually go back. Let's actually do one while we're here. Okay, so making bread in an air fryer.
This is one of the earlier ones.
Yeah. Let's up it. I mean, you're getting relatively some traction on, right? So that indicates to me this is something I should go back to and revisit, right? So that's a way for you to also leverage when it comes to updating content and knowing, okay, what do I start off with first? Sometimes it's as simple as, hey, what am I already kind of getting traction in? And you're ranking like in the 3rd page for this article for some of the keywords. So that indicates to me, okay, this is getting traction. Let me just add more oil to press the gas on this a bit more. right? Let me go back. Let me make it a better article. Let me go and create more articles around air fryer breads or whatever they may be, and build that out. So that's something that I would be looking at. I want to look at what's ranking for this. So let's have a look at these two here. Okay. Okay, so this is super interesting, right? This is super interesting because, let me look. Yeah, okay, this is really interesting. And I think, not to say that this is what's going wrong for you, but you can see that the search intent is very different from what is ranking for this keyword versus what you produce. So this is the main keyword, right? Baking bread in an air fryer, right? Or baking bread in an air fryer. So that's the main keyword, right? If I'm looking at the first two, even the first three already, I'm getting recipes. I'm getting recipes, right, on how to make the bread, and what you're giving me here is kind of a mix of info. Right. So from the get-go already, your search intent is wrong. Like the search intent that for this article was already wrong. And I'm not going to go through like all of your articles, but this is something that you should be quite cautious about, right? Because I don't know, like you said, this is an article that you wrote before you started the course, so you can already see that you've created an article, which, like, if I just looked at it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good article, I like it. But it doesn't meet search intent. The keyword that you're aiming for doesn't make sense. The search intent doesn't make sense. So actually, it's actually going to be very hard for you to rank, right? Because people who are looking for baking bread in an air fryer is probably actually looking for a recipe. And if they come across your site and like, oh, they're not giving me a recipe, I'll click off and I'll go to the next one. So already that is something that, no matter how optimized you make it, no matter like the affiliate links you put in here and all that stuff, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to rank, right? Because quite frankly, it doesn't meet the search intent. So that's already an example that I can see for you to go back and it's called, if you haven't done the like content, like pruning and just like going back to all 95 of your blogs and just being like, okay, what is the target keyword that I'm going for? Like, because I know that you wrote quite a lot of articles before we just had the course. But so what I would actually do, very simple, like a step-by-step. First of all, just go to your XML here and just like copy and paste this into a Google Sheet. So just pop it in there. Go to each one and be like, okay, what is the keyword that I'm targeting here? So Halloween baked goods. Let's just say, like, you look at this, you're like, okay, Halloween baked goods is a keyword. Then you go to your whatever keyword research tool that you're using, doesn't really matter, keyword baked goods, and let's just say that's the keyword here. Let's have a look. Halloween baked goods. So we can see that that's the parent topic. So I don't. Oh yeah, 800 search. That's pretty good. So okay, so Halloween baked goods, and then so I would look at this and be like, okay, here is the top 2 ranking articles for Halloween baked goods. I wanna. Oh god, where did it go? Air fryer, Halloween baked goods. Where's the XML? Okay, here we go. Let's just pop this all together. So I would then start comparing. Okay, here's my article, which is get creative. Okay, informational, right? Kind of a bit of like these are some ideas that you can do for Halloween baked goods. And then I look at this, I'm like, okay, this is a collection of recipes.
I think that might be one thing I need to think about too, because a lot of people in this space are kind of influencers because of what they're cooking, whereas we're not cooking, so to speak. Maybe I should be cooking.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I actually see an opportunity in your niche to do some sort of not programmatic SEO, but using automation to generate a bunch of recipe type of it's really like it's going to take a bit, not too much of a technical work, but it's like one of those things where you can like one click using AI to generate a bunch of recipes to compete with these bigger sites. Because like Food Network and Taste of Home aren't influencers, right? They're just like and these recipes, I bet you 100% is just kind of, even have a look. If I click on these, where does this go to? Yeah, it just goes to like their recipes and stuff like that. So this is all like kind of like a programmatic, like just a way for them to do content, right? So but you can see why you're not ranking, right? Like whether this is the right approach or not, but what I'm pointing out to you is that what people are searching for, and by the way, what ranks is what people are wanting, right? Like at the end of the day, I'm not here to argue whether this is better than your article. I'm here to argue that this is what's ranking for this keyword, which means this is what people want.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, right? Like I might not agree all the time. I might be like, you know what, I actually like your like creative way of being a bit more broad and stuff like that. I think it's more useful, but at the end of the day, it's not about us and what we think. It's about what actually is the data. Yeah. So already you can see just this one here that there's a disalignment with your search intent.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So I would go back. Again, just go to your XML and I would copy all to a Google sheet. And then the next one, I'd be like, okay, what's the keyword I'm going for? And afterwards, I'd go and research and be like, okay. And by the way, you don't actually need to use Ahrefs. You can just look up cupcakes on Google and just see what's ranking. You don't need to use any tools. You can just see what's ranking, click on the first two, be like, okay, this is the search intent here is more recipes. The search intent here is more informational. And then this and this and this and this, right? Cake level, I'd imagine, is going to be how to use a cake leveler. So I'm quite curious whether what's ranking is actually best cake levelers or how to use one. I'm not sure. Lever, that is not right. Leveler, blah, blah, blah. Leveler. Okay, let's redo that one. So if I look at this one, cake leveler, look at that. All e-commerce. So that's probably not going to be the best one. And then Reddit. So then I would actually change that keyword to how to use a cake leveler. So I would change that keyword to be a bit more like how to use a cake leveler. And then, and then making that a bit more, So anyway, so you can see that your search intent, that's the biggest misalignment. So that's one thing I think would be really high ROI for you. This is also a good thing because as you're going through that, I would actually, and if you haven't done this already, right, I would actually also then have another column and then just like map out what that topic cluster is. So I think you said before that you weren't too like strategic with like the topic clusters and stuff, and then you can just list it out. It's gonna, you may as well just do this whole thing once and for all, right? Just categorize all your content, because one thing I'm spotting from your from all of your articles is there's not a lot of internal linking going on. With this one, only one link, right? Internal links is a really high ROI activity. Like it's one of those things where like I've like done sites where we would do a big internal linking update, and next thing you know, we've got rankings. It's like it's crazy how important it is, and people focus so much on external links that they forget about internal linking. And internal linking is super important because it ties everything together. It lets Google understand that you're not just writing random shit, you're actually putting all these classes together, and that's how Google understands your content and stuff like that. So as part of going through and analyzing your existing content, you also want to go in and just categorize what's like the overall categories and stuff, and start internal linking as you go through it. So that's also going to be important, because I think like if I so you have like one thing on strawberries and then cake decorating. So like cake decorating, all your cake decorating. So like you have so many things on cake decorating. I don't know if you can see this highlight right now. Can you see that? Yeah. Like just looking at that, it's like, okay, like you have 33 articles about cake decorating, which in a perfect world, each article should have 32 other links to link other cake decorating stuff that you got going on, right? It's obviously not always going to be the case, but if you're talking about cake decorating ideas, then you should internally link to, hey, here's like the best cake decorating tools while you're at it.
So we started with best cake decorating tools, and we've got one bit up on that. But I also checked the other day, cake decorating isn't actually a very difficult keyword, which I was stunned at.
Is that sorry?
It's not a very difficult. The difficulty score in cake decorating is not bad.
Your niche is great. Your niche is not that competitive in the sense where it's like, it's because I've been burnt from being more in marketing SaaS and stuff. So, but anyway, so like you definitely, like this is a great keyword, right? Cake decorating. And like you got that intent right, where what's ranking is like a how to decorate for beginners. So there's that. In saying that, this might be quite a hard one because there's like a lot of videos and stuff like that.
That's the other challenge in this space too. A lot of people are chefs or cooks, and they're doing this stuff and they're creating a video from it and all that stuff because they're actually making the products, whereas we're not making the products.
Yeah.
I think we might be, I don't know, I need to maybe think of a different way to present it or.
Yeah, it is hard. I think that's one thing that is going to hold you back, not going to like just the nature of this niche, right?
Yeah.
But also, I don't know, I think maybe you can also get away with like some sort of like using AI generated like images to like showcase these little things. Like, you know, like now it is possible, right? Before, if you were to really trying to run one of these, it's like, okay, like I actually need to take these photos of myself or videos, or otherwise I'd have no images, or be like stock photos, which is not great. But like, what if you could create an image that's consistent of like a cake, you know, like, so there's definitely a lot of possibilities now with AI and stuff like that. So I don't think it's impossible now. I think back then, bit of a hard sell. With all these AI kind of like image generators, a bit of a different story.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that's in terms of like a content feedback. I think that's really high ROI stuff. In fact, anytime I start working for a company, this is the number one thing I do. I don't go to their technicals. I don't go and do links. I don't go and like none of that. I'm like, what content do you have that's holding you back from the rankings that you want? Because whether you like something that people just overlook is that like all of this content, because it's not ranking, you're not actually going to start ranking by adding more to it.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of those things where if you have like, you know, this is all actually dragging you down. Like content that rank drags you down. So I do it like every 6 months. I'm like pruning stuff. I'm like getting rid of stuff. If it's not ranking and the keywords are like your keywords and stuff, I think it's like are good. And I just think it's a matter of like
digging.
Yeah, like just kind of like going ahead and updating and stuff like that, right? Because like, you know, I've definitely come into companies where the content is just a mess. Like they've got like a bunch of like news articles or like weird syndicated content. I'm like, no, like this does not add any value and we need to just cut it. Like, and I'm like, oh no, but like everybody in the industry is doing it. I'm like, yeah, but do you want to rank? I don't know. Like you're not a 90 DSR you're not like Forbes to be syndicating content, right? So it's like, okay, we just cut it, right? And once like, you know, I've like, and this is a case study I've done where like one of like my clients, the first thing I did when I went into the company and did SEO for them was I think I had like 250 articles roughly, and I got rid of, we only like had 50 articles left by the end of that first pruning I did. I just got rid of it. I deleted it. And guess what? The 50 good articles they had started ranking. So I did not put new content. I just got rid of all the dead weight and I did internal linking, bit of updating, and boom. Or just no, sorry, I didn't even do updating. All I did was internal linking, and I cut the content. I didn't even update it at that point. And then within like a matter of like a week, we saw like just a positive response from those articles. So that's just like to indicate to you that you have to look at your content as a whole as well. Like if you've got a lot of stuff that's not ranking at all, you need to question that and then decide whether you're eliminating that, you're refreshing that, you're internal linking that, whatever you're doing. Right? Yeah. Okay, so that was a big little ramble, but any questions on that or anything that you want me to go through?
No, I'll go through and do that and then just have a look and see what happens and then make decisions from there, I guess.
Perfect.
Awesome.
No problem. So there's that. So okay, let's have a look. Deepak, hey Jess. Okay, before I go into that, I'm just going to go there. So Mark says, what tools are useful for internal linking? Yes, Link Whisper is best for internal linking. If you're using WordPress, Link Whisper is great. That's the one I use. It makes it really simple and intuitive and stuff. I haven't explored things like you know, when you're writing an article, probably using AI to like help indicate and like hey, here's all my articles. And this is like, Kayleen, you can actually probably even do this, right? You probably don't even need to do it all yourself, but you can just like, Kayleen, just basically put all your articles and be like, hey, like, can you like, here are all my articles? Can you like, can you give me like the best internal links for each of the articles based off of my articles? So you can also use that as a bit of like a head start, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can kind of play with that. Jaya, hi Jessica, is the beaching? We still do one-on-one coaching. It's in the, what section is it in school? It is in the, I'm going to have to find it, but yes, we still do one-on-one coaching. It is in the, let me find it. AI income, blueprint, coaching. Yeah, so it's in the coaching section. And what happens there is you have to fill out a form with all your questions in detail and stuff like that. And then afterwards, one of the team will get in contact with you and set up a time with you, and you can do that. So I've just pasted the link to the one-on-one coaching there. Yes, we still do that. There you go. Okay, awesome. Now let me go back to Deepak, your question. Hey Jess, how can forming strategic partnerships and collaborations contribute to effective backlink building, and what are the best strategies for identifying reaching out to any side to? Okay, so yes, so strategic partnerships are always great, and collaborations for sites, especially if they're there's probably two types of partnerships and collaborations that I think are really effective when it comes to like building links and stuff like that. The first one is having someone, a peer, someone like you. So as an example, let's just say I'm in the baking category and Caitlin's your cake decorating, right? And let's just say where we are both actively doing link building, and doesn't matter if and then what's important is that maybe we're like both at 0 DR or both at 20 DR, doesn't really matter, right? But Kaylene's actively doing guest posting, I'm actively doing guest posting, we're doing it to different sides, but we're kind of in the same niche. So then Kaylene is probably going to guest post, and she's like, oh, I can put 2 links in there, and I'm going to put one of my links in there, and Jessica, like, do you want a link? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. And then so you get that, we both get 2 links. And then I get a guest post to another site. And I'm like, oh, I get like 3 links in here. I'll put in my link. Kaylin, do you want a link? And then that's a partnership where amongst your peers or people that you're working with, you're able to kind of like get not 2 links for like one, but like, you're basically, it's like 2 people working on the same thing, reaching out to different people, but getting like all these opportunities that they can swap links. So that was a really quick way that I was able to grow. Starting out, I had somebody in VGE who was just doing guest posts at a really rapid pace at the same rate I was doing it, and we were just like, okay, like we got a link, like at the end of the day, you only need 1 link from 1 domain. Like you don't need to have, getting more links from the same site isn't going to help your site. Like the 1 link is all that matters, right? So I'm like, okay, if I got a position for like 3, I just put like generally 1 of my links, 1 of my partners link, and then maybe 1 client link. So like I make money from it. I put in my partner's link, which I'm able to kind of like, get another link from them, right? Which means I get another link, and then I put in my link because obviously that's important. So that's a really good partnership and collaboration that you can do that's going to be really effective. The hardest part about this is finding somebody who is in your niche, who is doing and able to get results and able to get those guest posts or have these sites and stuff like that. So I think that's probably the hardest part about that. But yes, so there's that. And then, so another part of that is the other kind of effective partnerships is when you're reaching out, whether you're reaching out for guest posts or whether you're reaching out, depending on what type of outreach you're doing. Yes, it is like, finding sites who are higher DR than you, and then being able to be like, hey, they're like, okay, we want to do link exchanges, right? And then what they're asking you is like, hey, do you have any sites that we can get a link from? And that is probably, and that's where you're kind of facilitating that. And I think that's a harder one because you actually have to have something to give, right? Like as an example, like my site's like 40, 50 DR. So like I could go to a site and be like, hey, like, and then let's just say I have a client site. So I've got an site, I've got a client site. Let's just say we're all 50 DR, and I've got another site that's like not another site, but like I'm reaching out to a site that's a 50 DR. I'm like, hey, I could facilitate an ABC link exchange. You link to that, I link to you, you link to me, and then we all get value from it, and I'm able to facilitate that, right? So for those potential partners, you actually have to have something to give. And that's really, they're great potential partners in link exchange, right? But the point about guest posting and link building is you have to have something to give. You have to have something to give either by being able to find these guest post opportunities and being able to link to people, or you have the money to pay. Obviously, a great strategic partnership is you pay somebody money and they give you a link, right? So you have to have something to give, and then that's the most important thing about guest posting. You can't cheat that. You really can't. Like, there's no way that you can slime your way around it. It's like, oh, you slime your way around it, I just remove your link from my site. It's like, okay, like, like it's just one of those things where it's hard to like mess people over. So so they're kind of the 2 strategic partnerships I think are really valuable when it comes to link building, right? So you're going to have people that you've guest posted with, or companies that are, are open to link like, to link exchanges and stuff like that, but you obviously have to have something to give, or people who you are working with who are also building, who are also doing guest posts where you can kind of like collaborate with and exchange links with through your different guest posts or sites or whatever that may be. So there you go. I hope that answers your question. JR, but why is AI income blueprint about link building missing? Yeah, it's not missing. It's more so just not much has changed with link building that needs to be updated and created a module. Like we thought about this, and to be honest, like nothing's really changed about it. Like AI doesn't necessarily change anything, because the fundamentals of link building that we've taught when it comes to guest posting is still all about people and humans and relationships, and you can't bypass that with AI. The only probably difference is that, and we talk about this in Lana's course, like when she talks about instantly AI and using that platform to reach out to people. So that's probably the only thing where you can speed up the process, where you can use like instantly AI and stuff like that to be able to make your email outreach a bit more effective and scale that a little bit more. But the fundamentals are still pretty much the same in terms of like how you're going to link and how you're building those relationships and how the fundamentals of that work. So no real update to that, which is why we didn't include it in the new AI income blueprint. But that makes a good point. You should actually watch the BG 4.0 to learn about link building. Yes, so that's that. Sorry, Michael, I'm having a 113 code currently not in this page. How can I fix? Good question. I turn to Google for that. Most of the times when you're getting things like that, you Google it and you just see what it is, because there are so many error codes and status codes. I don't have a document for that. But Google it, see what it is. Sometimes it could be like, I can't give you an answer because it's just, there could be so many different reasons for this. That I've obviously had this issue before, but the ways of fixing it is always going to be a bit different depending on the site and stuff like that. So I can't answer how to fix that for you because that's a bit of a rabbit hole. But Google it, see what people's have had with that, and then just one by one go off and be like, okay, so maybe like one of the issues was that what do you call it? Like maybe some of the issues was that your like maybe your sitemap is like a bit different to what you're crawling and stuff like that, and so something might be happening there. So there's a lot of different like things, but just go through, see what the potential issues, like why this would happen, and then see if you can cross that off and just go down that list and see whether you're committing any offenses that is making the Google gods saying you've got a 113 status error, and then go from there. And then if that's not working, then make a bigger post about it in school and just like put in your site, and then like anything that's coming from your Google Search Console and stuff. And then that might help like give a bit more context for something. So there's that. To say, can I share my Google Search Console screen with you so that you can try looking at it? Answer is no, because for me, technical stuff, I tend to just look at that and then pass it to my technical developer. I'm like all those people, I'm like, I know what needs to be done, but it's like, okay, but I'm getting somebody else to do it. So I'm not going to be very helpful to do it for helping with that. I would just kind of Google it and usually I Google it. I'm like, I'm able to identify the issue. I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of happening. Can you fix it? Because I don't know how to fix it. I'm like, I don't like, that's something where my time is better off like identifying issues and strategy rather than like go into technical, which is why I never got super in-depth into technical SEO, because I'm not too much of a technical person. I used to do like coding and stuff like that, but it's just like not something I personally love to do. So yeah, but something that I highly recommend just in general, and I've like preached this from day one because this is what I did and it's just like saved me so much time, is that just go on Upwork, find a developer for like $5 an hour and just have them on standby. Like anytime you come across these little issues, like there are some really great people from like Bangladesh and India who are just so good with these issues, and they like charge like $5 to $10 an hour. It's not like you're hiring them full-time or part-time. It's like, oh, I only need like 2 hours of your work to fix this thing, or whatever ad hoc thing. And there's, by the way, there's bound to be a lot of technical issues that happen, and they're just so much quicker and better than fixing it than me. Like that was the thing. I was like, I remember I would spend hours trying to fix something. I'm like, wait, I could just pay someone $5 to fix it in an hour, and like I can fix it if I spend 3 hours on it. But I could also just pay someone for $5, $10, and not worry about it at all, and they will just fix it much quicker than I would. So I highly recommend that you just find somebody. And actually, too, you're in Vietnam. Vietnam has some really great developers. I'm sure you can find somebody who's really great at a great price point, and just like, you're not hiring them part-time. You're just like, oh, like, I have this issue, can you fix it? Record your time. If it took me an hour, I'll pay you this much. Just to like help you get through these little issues, because the last thing you want to do is spend hours and hours on something that's just kind of, quite frankly, not worth your time. So that is that. All right, so let's have a look. Mark, can we build and maintain AV with an hour-day side hustle, or what is ideal hours? I think it's one of those things where, Mark, if you're thinking that if I'm starting out, I'm going to just do it 4 hours a day, it's probably, it's one of those things where it is a compounding effect, right? There's a lot of startup time that it takes to start the site, the website, the strategy, the content and stuff like that. But I will say that once you get through all of that hump and you kind of understand what clusters you're going to do, what the exact process is for the content creation, from the uploading to the strategy, and then you start hiring people to help to maintain your systems or to maintain your make or whatever that may be, then yes, 1 hour a day is going to be relatively quite easy, like, very easy to manage, right? That's kind of like how what Adam is in. This is kind of like on autopilot, right? But it didn't take him, it wasn't like he started off with an hour a day and still is 1 hour a day. Right now he's like basically like 1-2 hours a week, right? But it took him some time to get there. And I think that's fair to say for a lot of things, right? Because you have to understand the process, understand what works before you can kind of systemize that, train and hire and outsource that to teams, VAs and stuff like that, before you can be like, okay, that's pretty much an autopilot. I just check in once a day, make sure nothing's breaking, and then move forward. And you maybe might do like 2 hours of deep work per fortnight or month to like plan out the next 2-3 months of content, whatever it may be, and then you can allocate that. So yes, absolutely. At the start, I don't think so. Not likely. Not until you are able to understand that full process and you've got the site set up, you've got the content, you kind of know what you're doing there. And however long that takes is very different from everybody. Like however long that takes to get to that point. Yes. I hope that makes sense, Mark.
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so let me see. I don't think I've missed any questions here. Okay, I haven't. Yes, did anyone else have any questions while we've got the last kind of 10 minutes here?
I have a very quick one. I'm not sure if it's a quick answer. With the things like thirsty affiliates and stuff like that, how do they tend to what do you use to make things simpler? Because I know that once you've got a lot of affiliate links and stuff, it could get very confusing.
Yeah.
Putting all that kind of stuff. What do you?
It's not fun. I haven't found a more efficient way to do this apart from thirsty affiliates, having Google spreadsheet, noting down all the software, the categories, affiliate links, the login links, and having someone just maintain and manage that, making sure that, every 2 weeks or so, we're clicking all those things and making sure they're still working and stuff like that. So not a sexy answer, but that's, one of the unsexy things about affiliate links. It does get disgustingly messy. We're surprised that even now there's still no software that is able to aggregate every single affiliate link you have and just maintain and manage it all in one dashboard. It's one of those things where if you want to see how much you made for this particular software or product, you have to go do that link and do the login. It's a nightmare, quite frankly. Not right as of now that I know of. No, apart from manually kind of maintaining and checking and looking at that, not really a way. Unless you're one of those people who go to one of those affiliate platforms and you exclusively just do everything there, because obviously you'd have the dashboard of all the products in that affiliate platform, right? So apart from that being the exception, if you've got things all over the place, then things are all over the place. And Google Sheet is your best friend.
Have you heard of Genius Links? Have you seen that software?
It's
called Genius Link. I'll show you. Genius Link. But the reason I thought it was quite good is, and I know couldn't possibly know everything about every piece of software out there, but it looked good because you can set up what they call a choice page, which is kind of like a landing page. And then say you're an affiliate with Walmart and Amazon and another US company or whatever, you can put their links on that one landing page, and then people can choose where they buy from. And then you set up that sort of page, and it's the link for that moving forward, if that makes sense. I just thought maybe that might be a smarter way. I don't know.
Wait. Repeat that for me, as in, so it's a landing page, and you're saying that you can add in.
So like if someone clicks on the link on your site, they can take you to it's like a landing page, and then it has a picture of the product and the brief description. And then it has like an Amazon button, a Walmart button, and another button for, say, another program.
Yeah.
And then the client can go, oh, I shop through Walmart, so I'll just click that button, and then it takes them to the link.
Yeah. I think that if you, obviously, I think that use case that you're, that example that you're giving me anyway sounds very exclusive to like product stuff, because I don't do product links, right? So if like for you, like the product stuff, if there's a software that is able to aggregate that product into different, like, Amazon, Walmart and stuff like that, then yes, I think that's great. I think you should use it, right? I think for me, I've never had to, because I don't do products, I do exclusively the more software and stuff. So that is an issue. So for me, my issue is like every different software sometimes have their own, they're going everywhere in terms of where they host their affiliate kind of programs and stuff. So that's my issue. But yes, I think that if that's a solution, if your headache is that, like for one product, people buy it from different places, and I want to be able to have it all in one, I think that's a great way to manage that. So yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I obviously haven't used it before, but if that's a software that does that and it saves you a headache, which it sounds like it does, then yeah, I think that's a great solution software for that. Okay, and then Mark says thirsty links versus pretty links, which would be better? Honestly, I haven't used pretty links, so I think just Reddit. Reddit is my answer. Google, see what people say, post in the community, and or test it out for yourself. I'm one of those people where once I start a software, I hate switching unless there's like a pain point. Like I will only switch because one, the software is giving, like, there's a pain point there where I'm like, this annoys me and I need to find another solution for this, right? Otherwise, if it doesn't break and it works, then that's great. And then, like, people might throw me, they're like, oh, like, have you checked this out? And I will have to go for a criteria. Like, it has to be marginally better than like what I'm using for me to make the switch, because the switch takes time. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes SOPs. And like that needs to be a pretty marginal, like big difference and improvement for me to switch things. So I'm like, if it doesn't break, it works. I'm not changing it unless you can convince me otherwise. And that's kind of the way I approach that. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm a huge fan of pretty links, and I'm in that space where there are other options like Genius Link, etc. I like to keep internal, but I haven't used Thirsty, and I was wondering whether they're with somebody who had a specific use case and using it, and would do that comparison.
And I think the thing is just, if you like it already, then just see what does Thirsty Link do that Pretty Links doesn't do. And if it's nothing really that significant, stick with what you like, right? Like what we mentioned isn't the end or be all, right? Unless we've said things like this is the best, please use this. Otherwise, like things like Thirsty Links, it's the internal linking stuff. It's like if you already have something that you really like and you want to stick to, just look at what the difference is between what we recommend, and just be like, oh, okay, there's just a few differences, but nothing major. Then stick with one that you already like and you already know how to use, right? At the end of the day, I'm always an advocate for using things that you like, that you're familiar with, and that work. And just understanding what the differences may be, and if the differences are like negligible, then don't switch.
Yeah, which brings me to the next point, which is in choosing initially. So you don't have any experience in any of these. Is there somewhere in the course that lists the preferred tools for all of the different items that we'll be working with?
Yeah. Okay, so here's the interesting thing. Oh wait. Hold on. So we have tried to design AI income blueprint. Actually, you know what? For the site, doesn't really matter. Yes. So for the site, we should, if you go to, I'll show you, in tools and resources. Hold on, let me have a look. Yeah. So in the tools and resources section of AIB, If you scroll down, there's WordPress plugins, and that's basically. Oh, sorry.
You want to do a screen share and show us?
Oh, okay, yeah. I've also put the link.
Okay.
There for anybody who wants to look anyway. But yeah, of course, I can definitely do that. All right.
So as much as I'm not a newbie at this, I'm trying to treat it as if somebody who doesn't know anything is coming in from the very beginning, trying to imagine what those pain points would be, starting from complete zero.
Yeah, I know, of course, and I think that's a great way to approach it. So so you basically so all the WordPress plugins. Here it is, so you can see, and what we have tried to do is oftentimes we have also skewed more towards free plans rather than the best plan, right? Because most people coming in probably don't want to be spending like everything on everything paid, from a software perspective. Just to start out, I think the barriers is too far. So like as an example, I think what is it? I used
that would be a nice differentiation. The difference between the kickstart free plan and then the best plan, because sometimes people are coming in without a monetary issue. They're prepared to pay for the best to get the best result.
Actually, no, I think we have. Okay, no, actually, we have done that. Sorry. Yes. So I think, as an example, we start off with Bluehost in terms of like talking about Bluehost because it is the cheapest hosting. But in terms of the best, we really liked WPX, and that is just one of the best WordPress hostings there. So we have included that here. We are also popped in the option there. Actually, from all of these tools, I mean, even from BGE 1.0, none of this has changed because from a site perspective, it's not that much. You shouldn't. There's not really that much there that you need to pay more for. Right. The only thing you pay more for is if you want advanced analytics on certain things and stuff like that. But like from optimizing your image site speed, like I still use WP Rocket, and we have given a paid and free version. This is actually, sorry, I take back what I said. The only thing that I don't take back was more so just like when we were talking about making the content, like we used to use Jasper and stuff like that, and then like keyword research like Ahrefs and stuff, which is a steep price to pay. So we tried to like eliminate using those tools by saying, hey, you can actually use AI to come up keyword research rather than using a tool like Ahrefs to do keyword research, which back then was the only option. So that's what we changed in terms of making things free. But in terms of all of these plugins and tools, there's still things that I still use today, and I haven't necessarily found a better alternative that is going to be more expensive or whatever that may be. So I still use Rank Math. I still use WordFence. I use Thirsty Affiliates. I don't use Cadence because I didn't start off with Cadence. I still use Short Pixel. I still use WP Rocket. So yeah, all of these things I actually still use. So there's not really anything an upgrade, so to speak, apart from the paid version of certain free plans, because they always have free plans. But I've never had to upgrade personally. So yeah, I mean, like Grammarly as an example, I definitely have the paid version. I just think it's worth the extra money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be an interesting post. The free versus paid and the return that you get for it. Like if money is not a bigger option, what would be the ideal setup to get the most out of it?
Yeah. You know what, Mark? It's upon reflecting on it, it's actually not about free and then paid and the value. It's when you're starting out, free is all you need, right? At a certain point, as an example, I'm going to use like Screaming Frog as an example, which is how you do technical SEO, right? The free plan of that, like just to get the software, has a limitation of, okay, I don't remember the exact number, but let's just say it was 1,000 URLs, where, hey, like for the first 1,000, like you can scrape any site as long as they have less than 1,000 pages, right? So if you were trying to technically analyze your site, if you're starting out, you probably don't need more. You probably have less than 1,000 pages. You have everything that you need, right? But it's a difference for, let's say, for a company who might have 10,000 pages, maybe an e-commerce site. They've got 10,000 URLs. Then they absolutely need the paid version because they're at a point where the free version is just not doing it anymore. They need more advanced capabilities of managing and analyzing 10,000 URLs. So that is, I think, the difference when it comes to these tools, especially like WordPress plugins, where free is not worse. Free is just, okay, like this is, apart from this one here, I would say
It's a
apart from this
limitation,
one here, yeah, it's more so just like when you're starting out, you don't need anything more than the free, because you probably just have a few affiliate links here and there, and you don't need that much, right? So that's, I think that's the difference. It's not necessarily paid is better. It's when you're starting out at this stage, refresh site, free is all you need. And then it's like, okay, like, you know, maybe 2 years in, you probably need to upgrade. But, you know, I've been here like for 4 years. I have not had to upgrade anything here, to be honest. Like even the short pixels, like I pay for the image credits, I'm still using it. Like I don't really have that much images personally for my site. So yes, I think that's the difference, right? So I use I don't use Cadence Box, but I know that the Cadence paid plan, where you have a lot more advanced design features, that's something where as a beginner, that's a choice for you to make. Do you want to stick to the bare bones, or do you know, are you maybe more of a design advocate and you want to do more fancy things? And if you want to do more fancy things, then yeah, pay for the paid Cadence Box. And I think that's the difference. But from a, you know, hey, is freer like a worse plan? No. So that's probably the difference. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it's a good beginning. I can see a couple of specific questions, like the start between, you know, Thirsty Affiliates and Pretty Links. Get somebody with a little bit of experience in Thirsty, and then we do a comparison. Or do the comparison, because if I'm asking it, somebody else is asking it.
Yeah. Sorry, that was that. Yes, I think there's that. So yeah, I mean, like, Mark, all of the toolkits that we've listed is the best. Like in terms of, it is the best. And if we've ever been like, okay, get this one, even though it's paid, we have done that. We're like, we're not going to say like, you know, or just get the free one because you stick with it, right? Like we have, if you see thing with this WPX, most people like once have had to switch, but like, hey, if you're really tight of money, do the Bluehost. It is a bit more subpar, but if that's like, you know, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. That's okay. Use Bluehost. Just get started, right? But if there's anything where we're like, okay, it's worth the extra money to pay for this, we've always said that. So there's that. But what we have done is also switched up AIB to be more, hey, you don't have to pay for a keyword research tool as a beginner that costs us like, you know, $100, $200 a month. You can just use AI. But if you're advanced, like, you know, for me, like I could never rely just on AI to do keyword research. I need data, right? I need data, and I will have to always pay for a tool. You know, I do, right? If I'm working for clients, I have to pay for a tool. I'm not going to use ChatGPT and be like, hey, give me like 50 keywords, and I'm going to stick with that. Like that's just not going to cut it, right? So there's a difference, but it caters towards both the beginner and versus, hey, you want more data? This is the tool that you'll get. But that was a common complaint. That was a common complaint that people just didn't have the money to spend $99 on a keyword research software every month, right? That was, especially if they weren't making money at the start. That was something that was a huge a barrier for a lot of people. So we try to adjust that. But that doesn't mean that we don't still recommend Ahrefs or an SEO keyword tool, because it definitely has the data that you need as well. But with AI, you don't need it necessarily to start out. So that's just kind of the differences there.
Okay, so a point you brought up, what would be the sort of average break-even point, the return on the investment of, you know, cost versus return or income? What would be the sort of average? Are we talking 1 month, 2 months, 3 months?
That is it's very hard to answer that question, Mark, as you can imagine, because one, we haven't necessarily pulled data for more 4.4 thousand students, right? There's also, you know, people are just, it's like, I have to say it, sometimes it's just a bit of luck and timing in terms of people who I would break it out in like the first 1 or 2 months, right? And then there's like where you go about it, right? Like for me, like, you know, like I made like $10,000 in my first 3 months of starting, but my route was an affiliate route. Like I just kind of coincidentally jumped into link building and then like went to that trajectory, and I really enjoyed it, right? Whereas someone like Eddie, he did a lot of content and stuff, and he was like right in the credit niche, and that really blew up at that certain time when he was doing it. So that did really well. Then we had someone who did like they were doing like in like the cinema. They did a lot of like, they were in like the niche of like writing, cinema, script writing, way before ChatGPT was kind of you know, like on the rise, and he like they spoke a lot about like Jasper and using OpenAI and stuff. And so at that certain point they blew up, right? And it's like, oh, like within like 3 months, like bam, like $15,000 a month. From Jasper and stuff like that before the advent of all these bunch of other tools, right? So I'd say that, you know, from those outlier perspectives, the testimonials that you see, it's always going to be, yeah, like, you know, making this amount of money in like 6 months and stuff, 5 months and stuff, 3-4 months and stuff. They sound exciting, but they are like, you know, it's a mix of like a lot of different factors, right? It's the timing, it's obviously the effort and work they put in, cannot deny that at all. It's the niche, right? So it's a lot of different factors. So I can't give you like a, you know, I don't think I'd be a very good person and say, Mark, you know what, 3 months, that's your break-even point, right? I can't say that. And because I don't know you, I don't know your work ethic, I don't know anybody's work ethic, I don't know what they're doing, what niche you're doing, how you're doing it. So there's a lot of variables that I can't give you that answer to. But I will say, and you know, the reality is like it is a online business. It's one of those things where a lot of people give up, and that's a factor that, you know, that's also a factor, right? People get discouraged and they give up after 3 more months and they don't actually give the potential, right? And even Marcos, one of our coaches, like he actually didn't, he's a great story of just like not really getting any traction at all for like a year and a half. And then all of a sudden, all of the stuff that he just did started like ranking, and he got all of these partnerships and sponsorships and stuff like that, and was quickly on the way to 10,000. You know, but that took a year and a half, right? And he just, but the thing is, he made like $0 for a year and a half. But then it's like, oh, like that switch. And then, you know, because it's the algorithm, it's Google algorithm, we can't control that. And then just switch, and boom, 1 year and a half. And it's like all the compounded work just accelerated in that 1 month. And he got all of these sponsorship requests and was selling placements for like a few $1,000s for articles. So that worked out really well. So I would say it's not an easy thing to predict. It's like the YouTube algorithm, right? You just don't know when a video is going to take off, no matter how that goes. But if you consistently post at it, then one will eventually take off.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for that.
No problem, Mark. All right, well, that's a great chat. I hope everybody got something out of this call today. Thank you very much for joining. And yeah, I guess I will see you all next week. Thank you for your time. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye.